Do you bonsai? That's right, little tiny trees that start with a B. No, not broccoli, bonsai. Welcome to Jamie Dove Florida Pottery. And in this episode, I talk about bonsai, the Japanese art form of growing and maintaining those little tiny miniature trees. You may remember Mr. Miyagi from The Karate Kid trying to explain them to Daniel.
How do they get so small?
I train. Clip here, tie there.
Where'd you learn how? Japan?
Okinawa.
I have a friend who's really into bonsai trees, and he challenged me to make 2 bonsai pots, one for him and one for me. And he told me that he would match a tree to the pot that I make for myself and then give it to me. I thought that that was a pretty cool challenge with a great reward. Now, I've never made a bonsai pot before, and when I had my pop-up pottery sale in my yard, I had 3 people ask if I had any. Well, I figured it's time to make a bonsai pot. Check it out. To be honest with you, I didn't know what a bonsai pot looked like, so I Googled it. After about a 6-second scan of the page, I knew exactly what I was going to do. First thing, to the slab roller. Once I decided that I was making this project with slabs, I got a block of clay. Using a wire cutting tool, I cut the block in even slices. This will put less stress on the slab roller and on the clay. More stress on the clay also means warping. I take the cut pieces of clay and I lay them out together on the canvas. I give them a good whack to make sure there's contact between the pieces. I cover the clay and start rolling. I rotate the clay 90 degrees every time I step down the rollers. This also reduces warping. After several passes through the rollers, the clay is as flat and as wide as the board. I cut the slab down the middle, creating 2 halves. I portion out the 2 halves of the slab material for the 2 pots. To speed things up and to make things uniform, I cut 2 templates out of pressed board, one for the long sides and one for the ends. I just placed the template and marked the edges. Using a bevel tool I made from wood and metal scraps, I score around the edges of the template. Using a fettling knife, I complete the cut and remove the excess clay. I repeat the process 3 more times to create the walls of the pot. And I would like to add that I keep all the trimmings. Some people call it scrap clay or waste clay. I call it unused clay. It won't go to waste, I just didn't use it for this project. So it's unused until I use it. Now to assemble the pieces I've just cut. I lay them out on the table. I put the beveled edge up against the edge of the table. I scored the edges with a serrated metal rib in preparation to joining the wall pieces. I take one of the pieces and apply a little slip. I do the same to the corresponding piece. I press the 2 pieces together, forming a corner. I repeat the process until all 4 walls are in place. I go back over the joins and compress them together a little better. I use a wooden tool with a flat end to smooth and compress the joint. Remember those pieces of unused clay from a minute ago? Yeah, well now I'm going to use them on this piece, and that's going to make them happy. I find the appropriate cuts of clay to use in the corners as a way to reinforce the corner seam. I use a wooden tool with a spoon-shaped end to push the clay into the corners. Now to cut out the bottom of the pot. I lay out a slab and then I place the sides down. Using a knife, I trace the interior of the walls. I remove the walls and cut away the excess unused clay. After attaching the bottom, I go over the entire piece, cleaning up the edges and smoothing out any dings or blemishes. With the base of the pot firm, I decide that it's time to cut holes in the bottom. One in the center for drainage and a couple of smaller holes for wires to tie the roots. For this pot, I want to make a flange top, so I rolled another slab. I make marks around the perimeter of the pot. I make the marks a 1/2 inch outside of the walls. Using a square, I cut the edges of the rim and remove the excess unused clay. And now I remove the pot from the slab. I mark and cut what will be the interior edge of the flanged lip. I remove the excess clay from the inside of the now clearly visible rim. I firmly and carefully score the entire underside of the flanged lip. I add some slip to the scored clay. I score the lip of the pot and prepare to join the pot to the flanged lip. Turning the pot over, I line it up with the scored clay and the slip. I place the pot carefully on the flanged lip, creating contact. Applying a little bit of pressure, I push the pot into the flanged lip firmly. Using some of the unused clay, I roll it into coils and line them up on the seams. I press the clay into the join, creating a stronger bond to the flanged lip. Using a sponge, I clean up the clay, removing any dings and finger marks I may have made. I wanted to make a special Florida sea turtle bonsai pot, so I made some Floridas and some sea turtles. And it is definitely a time saver having all the sprigs and cutouts made in advance. I start off by attaching the Florida cutout to the long side of the pot. Then I attach 2 sea turtles, one on either side of the stake. I repeat the same process on the opposite side. Then I attach the turtles to the end of the pot. Using an old 1-ounce measuring spoon as a form, I make semi-spherical buttons to use as simple feet for the pot. I make all 4 in advance. I mark and score the corners. I place the feet and press firmly. I clean up the clay around the feet with a damp sponge. Here is the final attachment, my maker's mark button. Now here are the 2 bonsai pots I made. Now I have to tell you, I am just absolutely pleased with the way these guys turned out. They aren't identical or even square, but they look cool. And this was definitely a hand building challenge for me, and I think I stepped up to it. I know that I enjoyed it. I learned a lot from the build. I even made a couple of new tools for the job. So for me, the knowledge takeaway is as good as the sweet pot and the amazing tree that are going to go in it. Now, coming soon is going to be a companion video to this one on throwing bonsai pots on the wheel. So keep on the lookout for that one. If you enjoyed the video and you found it helpful, hit like. Share the video with someone who could benefit from it. Leave a comment if you have a question or you want to see me demonstrate something. Thank you very much for watching the video. Go have fun. Go play in the clay. Take care.